Hi, and welcome to Data Unmasked. This is our live stream event hosted on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm Maribel Rivera, Vice President of Strategy and Client Engagement at ACEDS. And Data Unmasked is one of 4 live stream events we host monthly. Today, I'm joined by Dean Anderson, Vice President of Data Operations and Automation at HaystackID. And HaystackID is a provider of professional services in e-discovery, information governance, and cybersecurity. HaystackID is also a valued partner of ACEDS, and you can learn more about them at HaystackID.com. A little bit about Data Unmasked. It's our live stream that focuses on navigating the complexities of data-related tasks and talking about trends, best practices, and cutting-edge technologies in data discovery, management, privacy, and cybersecurity. Dean joins us today to talk about automation. So let's get into it. Dean, thank you for making the time to join us today.
Thanks, Maribel. Great to be here.
Wonderful. So I want to start off with, tell me about yourself, your role as VP of Data Operations and Automation at HaystackID. What does that mean?
Thank you. So, my e-discovery journey began back in 2002 when I joined Night Owl Discovery. At that point in time, we were 100% paper discovery services. And I was coming from a role of running a Kinko's, which later became FedEx Office. And at that time, my role was to keep 15 copy machines, running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a bit crazy looking back on that and how much paper was being consumed on a daily basis. Things have really changed a whole lot in that arena. But shortly thereafter, we made a decision to switch scanning operations to a new platform by a group in Omaha called Image Capture. And I had an opportunity to beta test a software that they were just releasing at that point in time called zPrint. zPrint later went on to evolve into what is now called Law, and pretty widely used e-discovery platform. And I was just, really intrigued by the entire prospect and, asked leadership to, allow me to try to build out a services, group, around e-discovery services. And, thankfully, they were willing to invest in me and in the technology to do so. And the first couple of years there, that group was just myself, running, things from start to finish, all the way through to the point where, I was finally able to hire my first employee a couple of years into that, who I can proudly say is still on my team at Haystack, so many years later. And fast forward, 15 or so years, tens of thousands of projects, completed, and maybe, an exabyte or two of data handled. And, here I am at Haystack in my current role. As, Vice President of Data Operations and Automation, I'm responsible for all of the teams, processes, and technologies, ranging from services around just the intake of data to the electronic processing of data, productions, data disposition, as well as all of the quality, controls around those services. On the automation side of my role, which is a division that we just, formally launched in the past year here, we're responsible for implementing process improvements and, automations to eliminate the need for human inputs in repeatable and standardized processes related to just, data handling, manipulation of data, or creation of data. So wear a few different hats, but, keeps me on my toes, keeps me, each day pretty interesting and engaging, constantly.
Excellent. Very interested in learning more about you with the FedEx part, with managing all of that. But I want to dig in a little bit more on how automation has become a priority in the role, and how, and I'm going to assume that's going to also tell us why HaystackID has started the automation group. But what specific tasks or processes have you automated to reduce time spent on repetitive tasks and increase quality? But let's start first with why it's become a priority in your role.
Sure. I mean, I think like all industries and e-discovery and litigation support providers in particular, we're always being pushed to do, our services at a faster rate, more efficiently, even while data volumes continue to grow and grow. Meanwhile, consumable per gigabyte or terabyte, rates to perform these tasks continue to shrink if they exist at all, right? So, we're very far away from when I started, this work, and a single gigabyte of data may result in thousands of dollars of revenue. That's just not the landscape we live in anymore. So, all that said, making processes more efficient and eliminating wasteful or unnecessary steps has always been kind of at the forefront of my duties. And beyond that, I'm a bit of a process improvement, nerd at heart. I am Six Sigma certified. I'm a certified change management practitioner. I'm the type of person who writes out the grocery list in the order in which, the items are found at the grocery store. That's who I am. So.
Do you put them in the bag the same way?
Oh yeah, of course, right. There's a method to everything. It's that bad, right? So, so at Haystack, we're looking to at every interaction that we have with our client data, and trying to make it as efficient as we possibly can. And this has led to us deploying, automations and scheduled operations around, things such as Microsoft Purview collections, that are immediately routing, into our data processing platforms and going straight into document review, without a lot of, inputs or stop points along the way. Every type of data transfer or movement of data from one area or platform or from one department, or another, is being looked at for automation. As our, forensic examiners complete their collection summaries and QC process, we have, data autonomously floating, downstream into whatever the next step, is along the way, whether it be preservation, forensic analysis, or like I said, just going, directly into processing platforms, showing up into review platforms. Some other things that we've been focused on of late is we have clients who utilize segregated ECA and review repositories to kind of, limit unnecessary hosting volumes. We've deployed workflows to empower our end users to perform those promotion, processes, themselves with single, save actions within their workspaces. We built automations to batch load production volumes. So, if our clients receive a dump of 100 productions, in one swoop, which, can be a bit of a stressful situation, we can efficiently, process that data without having to have someone monitor progress and make a mouse click every, hour or so. And this is just kind of going across the board, all the way into, automating archival requests so that, as soon as we know a need is there just is autonomous cataloging, consolidation of data artifacts. Just again, trying to look at everywhere where these things make sense, and fit well, and try to provide efficiencies that we can share, to our clients and our staff.
Excellent. So very quick question, and I don't know if you've got the answer for this, but I'm sure you do. Everyone's talking about AI now, but I know automation has been around for a while. Is there a difference there? What's the difference, so that we can educate a little bit more?
Sure. So I think, my focus here really is just on that automation side. It's not necessarily yet using machine learning to perform, these automations. They really are just taking standardized processes and making them repeatable without, additional inputs. Do I think that these types of things will begin to reach into the AI arena soon? Yes. right? I mean, there's so much technology in front of us that is likely to be on our doorstep or within the wheelhouse of what we're looking at here very shortly. But that's not something that I'm currently doing in this role right now.
Right. So right now you're really focused on that automation piece, just simplifying, improving, using automation tools, and
Correct.
not in any input into that AI piece.
Yep.
Excellent. So can you share a few examples of, and you did share a few, but I think let's dig in a little bit more into data processing steps,
Sure.
and how you ensure consistent and efficient results with minimal human input.
Yeah. So I would say, full end-to-end automation of our data processing in particular is being utilized on upwards of 95% of data process at Haystack. I don't know if we'll ever really eclipse beyond that. To be honest with you, I think this our industry is always going to need customization for one-off solutions, and we'll need flexibility on new non-standard file types that are entering as commonplace. But our automated data processing workflows have taken what once were quite literally hundreds of decision points or manual inputs that our analysts were making on every single job, and boiled that down to at what is now just 9 data points that have to be entered at the start of a project. There's maybe a dozen or so parameters that we configure at the beginning of each matter with a client or the onboarding of a client in general. And that pushes, data processing, through to match any, ESI protocol, that we've been able to see, through full processing, OCR creation, indexing of data, loading that into document review platforms, generating processing, exception reporting, as well as performing, automated quality assurances along the way. Because everything is already pre-configured and parameterized, it's a simple pass-fail type of system, and it's doing other things behind the scenes as well as like performing post-processing cleanup routines to ensure like disks on servers never run out of space, for example. So this has really allowed us to move our teams away from not only entering in those hundreds of inputs, but also a need to check every single one of them. It's moved us past a lot of quality controls and more into quality assurances. Obviously this creates a consistent and higher quality outputs, but it's also allowed us to pull our staff away from these kind of tedious, repeatable tasks so that they can then focus their efforts on that, high lift 5% of projects that don't play nice with automation and standardization.
Excellent. I was going to ask a question with regards to you mentioned onboarding for clients. Is it important for you as far as being part of that onboarding process, getting involved in playbook creations, making sure that you understand so that you can create those automation workflows for them very well, right?
Yeah, 100%. We want our automation teams involved in that entire onboarding process to really understand what it is that we're trying to help our clients with, whether it be deployment of software or systems or just taking on of services. What is our end goal? How can we make it as efficient as possible? And our automation engineers are involved in that onboarding process intimately to make sure that, we want all of our clients to have standardized, playbooks. This is how we do business for this client. And, we want all of it to move as efficiently as possible.
Excellent. So we're seeing lots of things going on in the industry right now. What are some of the current trends and challenges that you see in the field?
Sure. So I think, strictly in terms of this type of, autonomous or self-sufficient operations, I think, they're becoming more and more expected, right? The amount of technology advances that we've seen in this industry, over the last decade or so is pretty incredible. Beyond that, the amount of technology advances we all see in our day-to-day lives is incredible, right? I can hop in my car and hit a button that says work, and it more or less drives me to the office. I think as we all are exposed to these types of things, why shouldn't our expectation be that, a collection and processing of custodial email should be that simple, right? I think that's just kind of the route that we're all taking, mentally, with this type of technology. In terms of like challenges, I think the biggest challenge that we see on like a really regular daily basis is just keeping up to date with, changing file formats and continuously standardizing process around what sometimes feels like a moving target, right?
Yeah.
More and more data is originating from, various cloud systems, for example, and the collection of modern attachments, which is, email messages that have attachments that aren't physically attached to them, but are, dynamic links to documents and things like OneDrive or Google Drive or similar. Discussions are being had around, versioning control. How do we ensure that the version of a document that is collected from these systems is in fact the one that the recipient received or viewed at the time the email was sent? And we're seeing these types of challenges come up with, all of the modern communication platforms that are being used so prevalently now, like Teams and Slack and things of this nature. Fortunately, I know there's some really bright folks who are working to solve these problems, with, vendors in this space and folks on my team, much smarter than I am, but, working diligently there to solve for this.
Excellent. So we've heard a few times about HaystackID Core, right? On Data Unmasked. We've talked about that with other members of the HaystackID team. So share a little bit. Let's talk about HaystackID Core. And we're going to drop a link in the chat for everybody so that they can kind of check that out as well. But share what kind of processes your team is building around that.
Sure. So HaystackID Core is really just our stack of best of breed systems and technology, that we've painstakingly optimized for speed, efficiency and scalability. It's really just the central cog in all the service offerings that we've been discussing today. But it's something that we also deploy directly to our clients as individual software solutions or a collective group of services and as a platform itself, or on-premise, infrastructure, with these systems or any combination of those three. What we believe is unique here is that, we're not providing to our clients some platform that we've developed specifically for client use or that is just for, client self-processing, for example. These are the exact same systems that my team is using internally at Haystack to, move terabytes of data through each and every day. We're simply providing a slice of these technologies to be built in a modular fashion to suit every client's, individual needs and capacities. So these are being deployed, all the way from, full end-to-end, systems that include legal hold that, trigger automatic, data collections into processing, straight out to review with no, hands-on keyboard in between, to just, one-off solutions where, maybe a client wants to be in control of just the data, processing aspect and wants to get data, into outside counsel's hands, without reaching out to us. So, what we're doing is offering, these solutions. It's not only that we're offering the best technologies, the what we feel to be the best technologies in the marketplace, but we're also able to lend our expertise on developing these autonomous and repeatable workflows, and can give our clients a sense of having this reliable, defensible, and transparent reusable workflow that they can use for an extended period of time.
Excellent. So we're coming up, we've got a couple of minutes left. So I want to ask you a little bit about what's the benefit, and I'm going off script here. So what's the benefit for small all the way to large companies? I mean, I can see it for large, but for putting automation in place when it comes to their legal processes.
Sure, sure. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing here is to become more excellent at what you are already excellent at. I think it's a Bill Gates quote about automation. You know that and I'm paraphrasing here, but the first rule to technology is that automation of efficient processes amplify efficiency. Whereas the second rule is automation of inefficient processes amplify inefficiency, right? So if you have well documented, battle tested standard operating procedure that already exists, but maybe has, like I said, with data processing, areas where there are human inputs, where an errant keystroke or a mouse click, which is inevitably going to happen. Human errors are inevitable. If we can eliminate them from the process, the gains that you will find there are, exceptional.
Awesome. So any last words about data automation, HaystackID Core, or anything else you want to share, or where, and then also share with us how people can get a hold of you?
Sure. So I am on LinkedIn. That's probably the social media that most folks would find me at. So I'm happy to chat with anyone about what we've talked about here today, or dive in deep as to what we're trying to develop. I'm just really excited about this role and the course that we've been taking here for the last year or so. It's really exciting to kind of make process improvements, on steroids, with automation. So I'm really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to the new challenges that are going to be presented in this industry, and how we go about solving them.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Dean. If you want to rewatch this episode or past episodes, we've had some really great ones with our affiliate partner, HaystackID. We're going to drop the link to the playlist in the chat, and we'll see you next month with HaystackID and ACEDS on Data Unmasked.
Thanks, Maribel.
Thank you.